and I reported to the Royal West Kent Regiment at Maidstone in Kent. And we went through 6 weeks of constant, all us lads were all fit from school. And, you know, you could stand it, but we had to climb over walls, climb through barbed wire, you name it, you had to do it. You know, physical training twice a day. And you know who brought that in? General Montgomery, under his orders. Twice a day, physical training. Yeah. And then I went to an army battle school, and from then onwards, my eyesight is very short-sighted, and I went before a medical board, and there was some quite high-ranking officers there, and they asked me all questions, and they said, well, you know, we don't think you're fit for combat, not with your eyesight, but we'll put you in other activities, which they did, and then it came on, and we were sent to India. Yeah, we went there, and I got to Bombay, and there's a big military hospital there called Colaba, and I was put in there because I've constant hemorrhaging from the nose, and I collapsed. I didn't know where I was, and they put me in the military hospital in Bombay. And then, as time, it's a wonderful specialist there, you know, in the army then. There was the ENT specialist that operated on my nose. His name was Major Midgley, and they did it all properly. It was all in the big operating theatre, and all my nose was cauterised and everything. And then they decided that my blood count was very, very low, so they decided that they would start treating me. Well, you couldn't get any blood plasma in those days. It was already there for the lads up in the front at Kohima. So we had, what was it? Injections of, what was it, Sandra? Liver injections we had in there twice a day. And they built me up again. And then they discharged me from there. And then onwards I went. And I got put on a draft for India, and we went on board the SS Strathclyde P&O liner, 25,000 tons. How many troops on board? I better tell you what it was designed for. It was designed for the Australia first class run, P&O. So of course it was taken over by the army. So we were put on the SS Strathclyde, and there was 500 first-class passengers on the SS Strathclyde before the war to go to Australia. How many of us do you think was on there?
About 3,000?
6. Yeah. And we were so lucky because the German Air Force and the Rommel, the German army, they were advancing on Cairo. And the two officers that stopped them going was Wavell and Alexander. Wavell was the Viceroy of India. You know that? Yeah. That's where my office was. Right next door to Wavell's office in Dehli. Yeah. Yeah. And we had some very high-ranking officers. Have you ever heard of General Auchinleck? Yeah, then. Yeah. And he was the commander. Him and Wavell were transferred to India, command, and they sent Wavell and Alexander to the Western Desert to fight with the 8th Army. Yeah. And then I've saluted Auchinleck so many times in the HQ. Used to walk past him, you know. Had a massive, great war room there. You never seen it like it. How the Allies got everything together to fight that war, considering the Japanese had got the upper hand, I'll never know. I never know how they did it. The organisation in those, a bit different of what they got in Westminster now. They couldn't organise a tea party. They couldn't organise a tea party up there. All the old, you know, it's so sad, really. All fighting one another, except they should be, you know, doing other things. But then as time went on in Delhi, my friend, two friends and I, when we arrived at the training camp in Dehli, it's called Dehli, just outside Bombay, we were summoned to the Major's office. And he said, well, you chaps, he said, how did you manage this? So we said, we don't know, sir. The posting you've got is unique. And he said, report to the station tomorrow morning with your kit. You'll have your own carriage and you'll go to New Delhi. And then we were introduced to all the people in Delhi, because we had to do all this work on intelligence. And we produced a resume of activities every week. That's 3 of us did that. But that was all done by the other staff. And it was all, you know what a Roneo is? Oh, that's a very old-fashioned printer. And the old Indian, the Duffrey, they used to print it off. But the girls in the office, they were stenographers, you know, typists. And they had I can never remember what that was they used to print it on. Once they did this sheet, it went onto the Roneo. Then we had to send all these things out to all the various commands, you know. Yeah. So as time went on, of course, we were 3 of us were made sergeant because we were handling classified information, you know. And I used to ride about Delhi on my bike with my dispatch case, and you know, I wasn't at all afraid or anything like that. No bother there then. No, Delhi was quite quiet, you know. But then, in 1947, Mahatma Gandhi, he stopped the fighting, because the Muslims and Hindus and the Sikhs were all fighting one another. And I came out in April 47, and that started in 48. Sanders said to me, shall I tell you who my colonel was? Enoch Powell. Heard of him?
Yeah.
Ah, right. Yeah, he was my colonel. He was Deputy Director of Military Intelligence. Yeah. He was a good man, but he stepped out of line, didn't he? You know, a lot of problems there. Yeah, there you are. I think he did a good job while he was in his office, you know. Yeah.
What was your impression of General Auchinleck?
Auchinleck? Well, I presume he must have done a very good job in India, you know. But I've not really got a lot of, you know, knowledge about him. Yeah. There's a book called The Unknown Soldier. It's about him. Yeah. Cawthorne was the one of he was in India. But yeah, it's really, the word went round that all that we'd been sent to India for originally was to defend the empire. You know, stop the Japanese getting into India, and all that was wasted because you know, they got this partition came along. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Pakistan, and Pandit Nehru, India. They were the two main ones. Are you familiar with them names? Oh, you are. Yeah.
What do you remember about Enoch Powell?
Well, I'll tell you, he was a very, very, very reserved man. I mean, when I was sitting in my office in Delhi, I could do that and touch him on the shoulder, you know. But he didn't have a lot of what to do with us. General Cawthorne, he was the one that always used to speak to us, you know. But Cawthorne was a bit higher than him, but he couldn't, you know, we couldn't really in direct contact with him. But I took my files to the House of Commons to see Enoch Powell. I was invited there, and we arrived one afternoon, and the Sergeant at Arms at the House of Commons tapped me on the shoulder. Mr. Burtenshaw, Mr. Powell will see you now. And we went into his room. See him, you know, talking about Delhi and all that. So he was in the Western Desert. Powell, yeah. Yeah, some of them people had a really rough time. Yeah. Yeah, because the Chindits, they were very brave people. God, dear. I knew several officers that used to go behind the Japanese lines. Yeah. And they always survived, you know. Yeah. They always survived. Peter Montgomery, one of my officers, the Viceroy's social secretary. He used to organise all the Viceroy's things that went on in the Viceroy's palace. He came in our office and he said, "How would you three chaps like a nice treat tonight?" So we said, "Yes, sir." Well, he said, "Take yourselves up to the Viceroy's palace and you're invited to a band concert." And we got there, we were seated, and then all of a sudden the band struck up, "God Save the King." Wavell and Lady Wavell appeared. He was in his army uniform with his red sash, and Lady Wavell was in a white crinoline gown with a blue sash. Then we all sat down and the concert started. That wasn't the finish of it. Captain Montgomery said, "Are you fellows hungry?" So we said, "Well, we are a bit, sir." "Go and see what's in the next room." I couldn't believe it. It was all laid up in there with all the various people, you know, needing all this. Yeah. Yeah. Because the people that lived in India, say back in the 20s or so, had a very good life.
Do you remember anything else about Wavell at all?
General Wavell? Well, I mean, I saw him enough in Delhi. He used to, you wouldn't dare, in a foreign country now, you wouldn't dare ride in an open like Kennedy did. And Wavell used to go around with all his full regalia in his Rolls Royce. Yeah. Everywhere he went, they had an escort, but, you know. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I used to go down to the Royal Engineers headquarters in Delhi every week and pick up the maps of China and India, and all those maps, us, three of us, had to put them all in envelopes and post them to the various commands. So they were all in, you know, They all knew what they were about, you know. Oh yeah, yeah. I can still remember 2 officers, General Carton de Wiart, John King, and Major Fox Holmes, Chinese intelligence wing, Calcutta. Yeah, and he came to join us. Major, what did I say his name was? Fox Holmes, that's right, Fox Holmes. He came to join us in Dehli, and he said to me one day, "I've got a job for you, Sergeant." I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, be careful, won't you?" I said, "Well, where am I going?" Well, he said, "You're going into the old city on your bike, and I want you to go to Olivetti." You heard of them? No? Typewriters. He said, "I want you to go to Olivetti and get a portable typewriter and bring it back here." And I did. I went all the way into the old Dehli and got it and brought it back. Yeah. Yeah, we had quite a lot of interest. But my most interesting job was on my bike every day to the Viceroy's palace. Oh yeah. That was my most interesting job. Yeah.
And what was your impression of the Viceroy's palace?
Magnificent. I've even sat in the throne room where the King and Queen used to sit. I sat on that. All the beautiful polished floors. All the buildings were beautiful in India. Oh yeah. The British Raj, they did quite a lot for India. I mean, the railways they built and everything else, you know.
And what were you working with people of different nationalities in the office?
Yeah, well, we had all Indian messengers, you know. Mainly, what were they? Not Sikhs. They were now. But, yeah, we were well organised in our office. We had everything to hand and everything, you know, for coping with all what we got to do, you know. Yeah. Yeah, every week we used to send out hundreds of envelopes to all the commands, you know. Yeah. Yeah. We did. Then came the day in 1947 when we were told you're on your way home.
Did you have to take medicine?
Pardon?
Did you take a lot of medicine in India?
No, the only medicine I had to take was when I was in Bombay. I had to take a medication called M&B. You heard of that? No. Well, that was the forerunner to the one they're using now a lot. Antibiotics, yeah. M&B, yeah. So, yeah, all in all, I had a very interesting time, you know, while I was there. Yeah.
And when you were handling these classified documents, were you ever concerned that there might be spies around?
Oh, absolutely. Well, not really. Things were so quiet in India then, at that particular time. I used to ride from the office up to the government buildings, and I never ever gave it a thought that anybody was going to attack me or anything, you know. And the Secretary of the Viceroy, he was an English, very thorough gentleman, you know. And I used to take the dispatch case into him. He used to come out and he used to say, "Good morning, Sergeant. How are you today?" "I'm very well, sir, thank you." "Oh, that's all right. I won't keep you long." And he used to take all the paper that he wanted out of the and put the ones back in, and I used to take them back to the office again, you know. So, purely and simply, our work was admin, you know. It wasn't combat, you know. I hadn't got any idea that I was going to go into combat. I've been to a battle school. I've been to one, but, you know, not too bad. No, it wasn't too bad. But, yeah, I'm glad that I went there because it was very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, the Indian railways, you know, were a marvellous thing that the British built, you know. Yeah. Yeah, all the hill stations and everything, you know. Yeah.
Did you have to sign the Official Secrets Act when you joined the?
I can't remember I did or not, but I mean we were all under the thumb, you know. You didn't. I mean, even to this day, what I've told you, I would never have told anybody else in those days. No, you were just silent, you know. Say anything. One of the captions in England during the Second World War was "Walls have ears." Yeah. Yeah, walls have ears.
And when did you hear about the battles of Kohima and Imphal?
Oh, well, in the Dehli, of course. We were in direct with the 14th Army. You know, oh yes, we knew about that fairly well all the time, you know. Yeah. But, yeah. Yeah, that was where they matched their match there, the Japanese. Oh. All the Japanese army were peasants. They'd never had anything in their life. And they were determined to get what they wanted. And they mistreated a lot of our men. Terrible. There was because there was a lot of Anglo-Indians in India, you know, intermarriage, a lot, you know. Most of the girls in my office were married to Englishmen, you know, and there was a special place, like a village, where they all used to live, you know. Most of them were army, you know, yeah. But, yeah, I'm just trying to think what the name of that place was where they were. No, I forget that. When we had very hot seasons, 40 or 50, and we used to carry our beds. An Indian word for bed is charpoy, and we used to carry them outside, and we got mosquito nets on poles, and we used to carry them outside, and then over the fence from us was the Purana Kila. It must have been hundreds and hundreds of years old, and it must have been a lot of battles took place around Delhi, you know. And every night the wolves howling. We were one side of the fence and they were the other. Oh dear. Yeah. I don't know.
Did you ever see the people in India being mistreated by the Europeans?
Pardon?
Did you ever see Europeans in India mistreating the population?
Oh, no, not really. That came, you know, the Indian princes were defeated by the British Army, but I mean, most of them were fairly well treated, you know. They, you know, the railway workers and all that. Tough old job that was, doing the Indian railways and that.